I'm delighted to be here with you on this lovely day. And if you're all ready, do we have a quorum, Mr. Jamison?
No, but we don't need one until we cast a vote.
We don't have quorum yet, and we don't need one until we cast the vote. So I'm going to share with you a nightmare I had last night. It was terrible. No, I'm kidding. So we're going to have two opportunities, two meetings coming up that involve you all if you want to attend. One is going to be a meeting with Public Works, and it will deal with the issue of how to work on improving the way we design or we put together new developments in the hope that we don't have to do traffic calming, much traffic calming afterwards. So it'll be an effort to work together to see if we can get Public Works and planning to work together in trying to solve some of these issues in the front end. So this meeting is being scheduled, and we are going to have also people from the police department, which are the people that usually are tasked with enforcement of this. So we're working now with Councilmember O'Connell and the departments to set up that meeting, so please check your inbox for it. Another meeting that we are planning will be with the Historic Commission, and they want to come and talk to you all. I told them the best way to do it will be to start one of these meetings 30 minutes before. That way you don't have to come all the way downtown just for that meeting. So I hope that that's okay with you all. You'll be getting an email again with information about that meeting. So I hope that you can make it. How about not? No quorum?
We need one more.
Okay, who wants to clone himself? Can we deputize somebody to be a council member? No?
Here are some results from a search.
Oh, come on, Fred.
I'm being texted that some of the council members are terribly stuck on traffic. Make an entrance, Mr. O'Connell. There you go. There you go. We got it. All right, so we have a quorum now, so we're going to get started. I'm going to read through the consent agenda. Some of the items have been removed per the request of some of you. So I'm going to just read the items on consent. If you want to remove any of those items, just raise your hand or scream at me or something, and I'll pull it up. First item on consent is RS 2019-1678 by O'Connell and Bircher. It approves an amendment to a lease agreement between Metro and Square Investment Holdings, LLC for office space in Washington Square building located at 222 2nd Avenue North. There is a letter to approve. Bill 2019-1561 by me. It adopts an official property identification maps for Metro for the identification of real estate for tax assessment purposes. BL 2019-1562 by Bedne. It approves a permanent and temporary easement for the Richmond Drive Stormwater Improvement Project for properties located on Richmond Drive, Inglewood Court, and Haysboro Avenue. BL 2019-1563 by Sledge and Bedne. There is a letter to approve. It authorizes Metro to accept a new fire hydrant assembly for a property located at 603 D. Hamilton Avenue. BL 2019-1564 by Sledge and Bedne with a letter to approve. It abandons a utility easement and accepts a new water main fire hydrant assembly and easement for a property located at 1119 12th Avenue South. BL 2019-1565 by Bedne. It abandons existing public sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements, and accept new public sanitary sewer main, manholes, and easements for 4 properties located on Spruce Street and 21st Avenue North. BL 2019-1566 by Swoop and Bedne. It authorizes Metro to acquire permanent and temporary easements for the Swiss Avenue Water Storage Infrastructure Improvement Project for a property located at 1203 Pineview Lane. BL 2019-1567 by Henderson and Bedne. It abandons existing sanitary sewer main and easement for properties located at 3801 and 3909 Hobbs Road. BL 2018-1357 by Councilmember Kindle. It cancels 1.47 acres of a planned unit development overlay district for a property located at 3419 Murphy Road. There is a letter to approve. There is a second substitute bill, BL 2018-1358 by Councilmember Kindle. It changes one. Do we need to withdraw that one? It has an amendment, so we're going to pull it out of the consent agenda. BL 2019-1529 by Councilmember Scott Davis. It changes 0.39 acres from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 1603 Luton Street. There is a letter to approve. BL 2019-1530 by Councilmember O'Connell. It amends 1.2 acres of a specific plan for property located at 1810, 1812, and 1814 Broadway Avenue, and 106 and 108 19th Avenue South to permit a mixed-use development with a maximum of 355 multi-family residential units. BL 2019-1531 by Councilmember Sledge. It changes 0.63 acres from R8 to SP zoning for property located at 2080 12th Avenue South to permit 10 multifamily residential units, and there is a letter to approve. We don't have a letter for Councilmember Witter's legislation, 1532. So we're going to move it to the Hill. BL 2019-1533 by Councilmember Scott Davis. It changes 0.17 acres from RS5 to SP zoning for the property located at 311 Gatewood Avenue to permit all uses of the RS5 zoning district and a detached accessory dwelling unit. There is a letter to approve. BL 2019-1534 by Councilmember O'Connell. It changes 2.9 acres from RM20 to SP zoning for property located at 1113 Ziegler Street and 801 12th Avenue South to permit a mixed-use development with a maximum of 270 multifamily residential units and up to 9,000 square feet of non-residential uses by Councilmember O'Connell, who happens to be in the floor with us today. BL 2019-1535 by Councilmember Murphy. It applies 18.74 acres of a neighborhood conservation overlay district to various properties along Kenner Avenue, and there is a letter to approve. BL 2019-1536 by Councilmembers Hastings and Haywood. It changes 1.53 acres from RS10 to SP zoning for property located at 1908 and 1910 County Hospital Road and 1917 South Hamilton Road to permit 15 multifamily residential units. BL 2019-1539 by Councilmember Glover. It changes 4.13 acres from RS15 to MULA zoning for property located at 4170 Central Pike. BL 2019-1540 by Councilmember Blaylock and Bedne. It amends the Metro Code to create a corridor design overlay district. And the last one is BL 2019-1541 by Councilmember Kendall. It changes 1.55 acres from CS and IR to SP zoning for property located at 500, 502, 504, 506, and 508 28th Avenue North and 510 27th Avenue North to permit an office building. Should I pull any of these items out of consent? All right. Councilmember is asking that we add Councilmember Brett Withers' item back to the consent agenda, and I'm going to look it up. And that item is BL 2019-1532 by Councilmember Withers. It changes 0.13 acres from IR to MULA zoning for property located at 820 South 5th Street. If you're all okay with it, I need a motion. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Oppose? It passes. We're going to go into every item, starting with RS 2019-1677. And this is an item that Councilmember Johnson asked to be pulled out of the consent agenda. It approves an option agreement between the Metro and Cumberland Consulting, Inc., and authorizes the purchase of property owned by Cumberland Construction, Inc. Councilmember O'Connell, would you mind talking about this? $1677.
Let's see, yes. I'm trying to figure out what is interesting enough that you might want me to talk about it.
Or we can ask Councilmember Johnson.
Okay, sure.
Let's see, Councilmember, you're on.
Thank you, Chair. I am curious, this is purchased by Park, and I don't know exactly, I understand entire parcel adjacent property facing Cumberland will be now Park property. So if anybody knows overall, Park plan for that particular now over 20 acres parcel altogether. And also, I do have some budgetary questions, so I will ask, I don't see any chair, so I'm gonna address during the council meeting, and I just have kind of slight budgetary question, but which is not planning question, so if you, sponsor of the bill, have a park plan, that'd be great.
And Mr. Chair, I think now looking at the attachment and reminding myself this is the Anthony Drive property, I believe this is for Wharf Park. Parks has done some preliminary work on this, and I attended an event that they did jointly with the Civic Design Center that was sort of a walkthrough of this property. If there is not a representative Parks available for this committee, then I would hope that there would be in Parks, Library, and Arts.
Cindy's here, she can.
Okay, then perfect. I will let Cindy address this.
Your mic is on.
Hi, Cindy Harrison, Greenways and Open Space Director, Metro Parks. Councilman O'Connell's right. This is the last piece, really, of a grouping of parcels for Wharf Park. It's adjacent down below Rolling Mill Hill. It will accommodate the park. There is an RFP out for design of that park, for the master planning of that. And it will also, in addition to the park, give us additional space to continue the Cumberland River Greenway, which is ultimately planned to connect to Browns Creek, which is on the other side of the interstate. You're welcome.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So, if I may, so RFP, so when is the timetable for all the RFP and overall plan might be able to see?
I believe the RFP process has either ended or is about to end. I think a firm, I'm not sure if the firm has been selected, but it's nearing that end of that process if it has not. So the master plan will start soon.
Thank you. So, Chair, I do appreciate the park aspect of the question, but I do have a little bit budgetary question. So at this juncture, if you would, could you please mark me as abstain?
Yeah. All right, so we need a motion. To do what? You move to approve? Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye. Oppose? And one abstention. Thank you very much. Next item will be Councilmember Kendall. You have 1358, and you have an amendment, so we need to move your amendment, and so the floor is yours. Where are you?
Actually, 13, 57, and 58, do you want to take those together? Is it?
Well, 57 passed on consent, but
Oh, was it?
whatever
Okay.
you want. It's-
Yeah, okay, we'll just move the amendment on 58.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion to move the amendment, and we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? All right. And now, would you mind moving as amended?
All right, move the amendment, move the bill as amended.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Berkeley Allen.
Thank you. I was just wondering if the sponsor could tell us in general terms what the amendment does.
I believe at the last, and I'm going to defer to our attorney to maybe give the specifics. I believe there were specifically four items that were requested by the group that opposed this, and all those have been added to this bill. Would you, Mr. Jameson?
That is correct, Councilman Kendall. At the request of the neighborhood associations, the four changes, parking for the residential, retail, and hotel uses shall be on site, and there shall be no reductions allowed. You know how you have reductions allowed from the table set out in Chapter 17 with respect to those properties within the interstate loop. No such reductions are allowed. The development would make a contribution to parks and greenways for purposes of improving the tree canopy, specifically through curbing installation, just to protect the grass and vegetation areas from traffic on specific streets that are outlined in the amendment. 1 year after the use and occupancy use and occupancy permit is issued, a traffic study would be conducted. And depending on the results on that traffic study, if traffic calming devices on Ackland and Orleans are indicated, those would be installed at the developer's cost up to a limit of $45,000. Development is not to close the sidewalks on Murphy Road during the construction. And lastly, during the first 5 years after use and occupancy, there will be 1.5 hours of free parking for customers of the retail facilities. And in the second 5 years, there'd be 1 hour of free parking.
Just a comment, if I may. This has been a very long and intensive process, as you probably know by now. It's been deferred several times. The GBT staff, who many of them are here tonight, and I want to thank them for their patience as well as the residents of the area who worked very hard to get to this point. It's a true demonstration of what I call a democratic process. And it was difficult, but I understand that Jim Kelly, who is probably one of the chief spokesman for the Richland group, has stated that he recommends that, I can't speak for him, but he said this at the last meeting, if we met these conditions, that he would recommend to the organization that they withdraw any opposition to this project. So I just want that to be known. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Syracuse.
Thank you, Chair. I'm curious if the sponsor could elaborate on the $45,000 figure for traffic calming. Has that been vetted by Public Works or whatnot as far as how much $45,000 gets you? Thank you.
I don't know, I think that was something that, there is some traffic vetting that's already in the project for the, Ms. Allen's district, I believe, Ackland, that was already, or they're not a part of this substitute. I think this was some traffic parking that may come into play as relates to the Richland area. And that's just an estimate I think everybody agreed upon. I'm not sure. We have people here. Is that, where did that figure come from?
You may speak.
Hi.
Turn on the microphone.
I'm Beth Ostrowski with KCI, traffic engineer. We came up with that $45,000 figure based on the length of Central and the spacing of speed cushions. If they were to be installed, you could fit approximately 3. A conservative estimate for that, for a cushion and the signage and striping that goes along with it, is about $15,000. That's on the very high end. So $45,000 should cover it.
Thank you very much.
Is that okay, Councilmember Sirkis? All right. Councilmember Glover, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, very quickly, Mr. Jameson, I want to ask a question because we know there's an RFP, RFQ, whatever you want to call it, out there on privatizing parking. Would this circumvent that? Because I don't remember the footprint exactly or the overlay of where the new meters could possibly go. Does this override whatever, if we end up selling that asset off, does this override that?
No. This is with respect to the on-site parking required at the development site, and there is a chart set out in Title 17 with respect to the number of parking spaces you're required to have, depending on the use. Reductions are allowed from that chart if you are within the interstate loop, and this amendment simply specifies that there will be no such reductions. They'll have to have the full number of parking slots required. This has nothing to do with parking metered spaces parking.
Okay, well, I heard it straight and everything. I was just trying to get clarification. Thank you.
All right. All questions answered. We had a motion to approve and a second. If there are not any more comments or questions, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? It passes. We'll go to the next item that is not on consent. That's BL 2019-1464 by Councilmember Scott Davis. He's not here, but he has a letter requesting to defer indefinitely. I need somebody to make a motion.
Move to defer indefinitely.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? It passes. Next item is BL 2019-1523 by Councilmember Haywood. That's your legislation. It changes 116.76 acres from IWD and R10 zoning to an SP zoning for property located at 420, 516, and 520 Green Lane, 3448 Night Drive, Teasdale Drive, Night Drive, White Creek Pike, and Green Lane, approximately 470 feet east of Night Drive, to permit 303 single-family residential lots. And Councilmember Haywood, if you want to make your case to your peers.
Yes, I would like to move that we are.
I apologize.
Okay.
It was disapproved by the Planning Commission, sorry.
Yes,
And there is a
it was.
proposed amendment, so you have to move the amendment.
I'd like to move the amendment.
Well, we have a motion and a second to move the amendment. Any comment, questions? Councilmember Wieters? What is, let's see, there.
Could we get a description of the amendment, please?
Mr. Jamison will be delighted to do so.
Yes,
Or
he
Ms.
would.
Haywood.
And I think it would, it's somewhat self-explanatory in a way. It's really, thank you.
The amendment to 1523 does really just two things. It makes reference to a traffic study and any required traffic light indicated by the traffic study. There's a specific location for installation at Whites Creek Pike and Green Lane. Second thing the amendment does is correct a minor error in the original to the extent that a property standard was not referenced. It was to follow the RS 3.75 zoning district. The original accidentally said RS 5, and it makes that correction.
And I would like to really solicit votes from my colleagues on this particular development. The developers have acquiesced in terms of everything that we have asked of them. And they're the only group that spoke to the community prior to making plans to get our input. And everything that they've done was articulated by the community. So we really feel good about this development, and we are really excited about it. And they will actually come again tonight to express their overwhelming support for this development.
Did I answer your question about the amendment?
Oh, yeah.
It did. We did receive some correspondence from a community member with some other suggestions that may have come in yesterday or today, but I just didn't know if those had been entertained.
They have been. They have been.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for the amendment. Are the people wanting to talk, they want to talk about the amendment or the legislation? All right, Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would maybe ask the sponsor, I think one of my biggest concerns in thinking about the long-term future of this site is, if we look at where some of the existing infrastructure spurs were and how this development specifically ignores those, maybe intentionally ignores those, I didn't know if the community had any concerns, but I will say, as I think about, again, the long future of that area, if we do not make strategic use of existing infrastructure, are we shortchanging the residents of that over time? I didn't know if the amendment addressed that at all, and I would invite comment from the sponsor on that. Thank you.
Well, what I can tell you is I've spent quite a bit of time talking to all the departments about things such as what you're sharing, and they tell me that everything has been adequately addressed because we have dealt with this in excess of a year, and every concern that we've had about infrastructure and traffic and water, we have really combed through it, and it's just my understanding that everything is adequately in place.
Thank you.
Councilmember Allen, is your question about the amendment or the legislation? All right.
Probably about the legislation. I can wait.
Okay. So we have a motion regarding the amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? All right. If you don't mind moving the legislation.
Okay, I would like to move it as amended.
All right. So now we can go back to the conversation. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you. I'll just ask, I remember a similar situation where neighbors were not interested in the connectivity, and the ultimate solution was to sort of aim the two roads at each other, but they left trees in between them, or at least put a breaker bar so the fire truck could get through. Has this been, do you know if this has been done, or does planning know if this has been done in that way, or are there actual houses in the path of where the connections might happen?
You're on.
I'm looking at the plan. I think there are houses in the way of most of the connections. There's multiple possibilities for street connections, and it appears that on some of those there's houses in the way. There might be an opportunity for one or two to connect ultimately, but the majority of them looks like there's not a possibility.
Okay. But there are some that do have that possibility.
It looks that way to me.
In the future.
They are.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, it seems useful to have some possibility for, should people change their mind, who knows?
Right, because we discussed that.
Okay.
That was a concern with the developers. They brought that to our attention, as a matter of fact.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
That's
for that
useful to know.
question.
Councilmember Mina Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm glad because connectivity was one of my concern because it's nice as a neighbor to have living in the cul-de-sac. while you are there. But if you are talking about commuting in the future, I thought, green will be a bit too much because over 200 and another 50 and existing 120 will be using that street. So if you have some kind of future connectivity, that will be better.
Yes, thank you for that point, because when we visited with the neighbors, exactly what they had articulated that they were interested in that particular area, non-connectivity on the onset of the development coming, they actually acquiesced, and they built everything according to what the community had shared. So there is future for that.
So one more question is, on the plan, there's metro, dedicated to metro, 43 acres in a
yes.
larger portion and also 6.5 acres in a smaller portion. And are they mandatory dedication, like a school site dedication, or would that be in the future utilized as a metro park or something like that?
Well, the plan is in the future, they're very prayerful that Metro Parks would like to use that for the kids. We've even gone over to KIPP Academy, which is right next door, to solicit input. We met with them last week and week before last to see if they would be interested in that area and what they would like to do in terms of that land. But we're really entertaining Metro Parks subscribing to it.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And especially, 43 acres
Yes,
park, if we
it's-
can somehow connect that with end of development area and then
That-
kind of ease some
Right.
traffic into White Creek Park, that will be in the future.
That is-
Not right now, but
Right.
5 years, 10 years from now, that will be a better plan.
Oh, we hope it'd be less than that.
Yeah.
It's definitely in the planning stage, and what you just shared is definitely what we look forward to happening.
That's great. Yeah, because, connectivity and so forth, I mean, it was impressively, lots of our neighbors support, so I was having a really hard time, but connectivity and future growth was a really big deal.
Right.
So if you have, opportunity to expand in the future, that will make me better to, inclined to support.
Definitely, and the parents at the school and the kids and the principal, they're very excited about it. They've been in on the planning. Thank you.
Thank you. So lastly, I think that, the plan, the conservation area is, I think it's a water feature creek, and I just want to make sure the housing, because it's a lot, the house, will be built in the future, would not have any negative impact alongside of the water feature, so like a flood risk and so forth. So I'm sure you're on top of it, but we just want to make sure it will be done correctly.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we're definitely on top of that. Thank you so much.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? I wanted to take this opportunity to say the connectivity issue. When we discussed this prior legislation at the Planning Commission, I actually brought up the point that connectivity is not always necessarily a good thing, and that we should look at it in the context of speeding in the communities, and how can we make connectivity do what we want it to do. So just, if that's something you're interested, I hope that you will come to the joint meeting of Public Works and Planning, so we can talk about those type of issues. All right, next item that is not on consent. Let me see if there is any. Yes, no, hold on. Yeah, this one. BL 2019-1537 by Councilmember Scott Davis. It changes 0.18 acres from RS5 to R6 zoning for property located at 327 Gatewood Avenue, and there is a letter from the sponsor to defer one meeting. So we have a motion to defer one meeting. Is there a second? There is a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Oppose? It passes. Thank you. The next item that is not on consent is by Councilmember Pridemore. It was disapproved by the Planning Commission. It changes, BL 2019-1538. It changes 0.85 acres from RS 7.5 to CS zoning for property located at 106, 108, 110 MacArthur Drive. Councilmember Pridemore.
Well, I mean, I'm moved for approval, even though I'm requesting that, but I have any question, anyone have any questions? Basically what it is, it's a corner lot of Myatt Drive and State Route 45, Old Hickory Boulevard, involving 3 properties that back up to a vacant asphalt automobile sales lot. It's been through we had a community meeting on the 29th of January where we had 17 people that attended, and all the issues were addressed, and they were very supportive of it. We had one that wasn't, one was, and we resolved the one that wasn't. 14th, we went to Planning Commission public hearing, several attendants. There was support, none, there was no opposition. And then April the 2nd, we had the public hearing here where there was no opposition and support. The community is really looking forward to this. It's in the middle of several different zonings, as the Planning Department stated. It's in the area of CS, RS 7.5, RM9, and SP mixed use within, and then also industrial. It's nearby MTA headquarters, Madison Police Precinct, and soon to be our Yazoo Brewery, which we're hoping to have that grand opening here soon, along with other small businesses. It's located directly across the street from a commercial zoning car lot and record company. Not street, State Route 45, which is Old Hickory Boulevard. Again, there's over 30,000 vehicles that pass this location every day, and the community has asked me to support it, and therefore I am. I think you're going to have any questions. I've got the answers.
Thank you, Councilman. We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Mina Johnson, you were requesting to speak.
Yes, I have just a couple of questions because this is not SP but CS, but I understand it's a race truck company will be coming and installing sidewalks and so forth. I think the question to the planning, so because it's a CS, so they will have to follow strict grading permit and so forth. And because this is facing a major collector or arterial street, the sidewalks is mandatory, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe they would be on this for a commercial property on a major street.
So one more question is, because I understand that this particular usage, it will be like existing automobile sales lot will be included in the new development, and then it will be much nicer. So if by any chance that usage is deceased, so as a district council member, continuous commercial use will be appropriate for that street? You feel like it will be kind of okay usage for that particular section?
I do, and I think it's an improvement because most of the residential community there have been wanting years. They've asked for some sort of improvement in their property so they can, for two obvious reasons, one being the appraised value of their property, but also to get more mixed use and development in that area besides residential.
Yeah, I think this one is, the Planning Commission disapproved it, but I think it can go either way if we really look at it. And, the applicant says like a commercial node. It's kind of strange only that 6 property is still residential, and considering the other side is multi-housing, the other side is already commercial. So I am inclining to support this one, even though disapproved.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? I see none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? All right, that was the last item. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and the meeting is adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.